Hello everyone, I'm Alex Pattle, combat sports correspondent at The Independent, and today we're joined by Campbell Hatton. Campbell, how are you?
Yeah, good mate, ready to go now, ready for weekend.
It's been obviously, a whirlwind of a week. You're fighting on the undercard of Joshua versus Helenius. Tough not to say Joshua versus Whyte, but obviously Whyte returned the adverse finding, and we've looked a lot this week, as journalists, at how that's affected AJ, how it's affected Whyte and even Eddie Hearn and stuff. But what about you? Obviously the entire undercard was at risk for a while. When did you first find out about the test, and how did that make you feel?
Yeah, so I found out not much earlier than everyone else really, probably a couple of hours before Matchroom released a statement announcing that the fight was off, and I was sweating, mate. I wasn't too confident. I spoke to Matthew, my trainer, and my uncle, and he was saying he was always pretty confident they'd be able to get someone in, but I just thought, this stage of the game and at the very top level, you're struggling if you lose your main event. So I wasn't too confident and heartbroken. I thought all the weeks of training and the dieting, the sacrifice could all be for nothing, and makes it that little bit worse that it's nothing I could have done. I've not done anything wrong in it. So for the undercard, it's like you're getting punished for no reason, isn't it? And the same for Anthony as well. So, yeah, I'd have been gutted if the show hadn't gone ahead.
What about the flip side, when you find out that there is a replacement for Joshua is fighting Helenius, the undercard's going ahead? What were the emotions like in that moment?
Oh, massive relief, because the hardest bit of it was staying professional, because we knew they were still looking for opponents, and it'd have been quite easy to get my head in a Chinese when I heard the news. Like I've been on a diet for like 10 weeks or something like that, and there was still a little bit of hope, but I think it'd have been quite easy to let things slip a little bit, but we didn't. We kept the mind on the job. We treated things as though nothing was going on, and then obviously early, I think it was Monday, weren't it, when it got sorted, Monday or Tuesday. And like I say, we're here now, so that's out of our mind.
I know Anthony said yesterday that he had a training session where he was thinking, what are we actually training for? As in, he doesn't know who he's preparing for, if he's preparing for anything at all. But he said yesterday he had it in his mind that he was going to be professional until 12th August, and 13th of August he can do whatever he wants. Do you think that's quite a good almost template to follow? You said like there was that period where you were unsure how to proceed, but you think Joshua's example is quite a good one. You've got that date, and no matter what happens.
Yeah, definitely, because especially for me and the other fighters on the card that are not heavyweights, who have to make weight and things like that, because we'd have been stuck, wouldn't we, if they'd have turned around and said, right, we've managed to get someone in and we've all piled weight on, and the fight, we're not in a position to make weight then. So that's the way it's got to be. You've got to be professional, and until something's set in stone, really, and it's a good job we all did.
Yeah. How do you feel about this weekend? People have talked about Tom Ansell being a slight step up in opposition. You've obviously been perfect so far in your professional career. How's the escalation been? Do you feel like he's a natural next step? Is there a part of you that feels like you're actually raring to go and that you could, jump up even further more quickly? How do you look at where you're at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's the perfect step up, really. I think I would be capable of even maybe a level above. We've been seeing how we've been performing, especially the last 4 or 5 fights where we've been getting them stoppages and have been winning quite comfortably. And this is definitely my biggest test, without a doubt. He's boxed at around English title level, area title level, and I think a few of my last opponents have all boxed for the area titles, and I stopped Joe Ducker, who'd won a Midlands, who won it just after he boxed me, in fact, and then I boxed Lewis Fielding, who fell short of an area title by just a point. So that they're obviously at that level, and I stopped them both. So I think I am probably a little bit. I'm definitely at that level, if not maybe a bit further on. But we want to get them rounds under my belt over, and the experience of longer fights before we get in for a title. And I think Ansell's definitely going to going to make me work for the win. I think he's definitely my toughest task up to now, and I think it's going to bring the best out of me. I think when I get an opponent who's definitely going to come to win, like Tom is, and has boxed at that level, and it's going to make it hard for me. So that's what we've prepared for. We've prepared for a very hard fight, but I think we're going to see the best version of Campbell Hatton.
That's this weekend, obviously. I'd like to go back to the beginning. I always like asking boxers what their first memory of the sport is. You know, whether that's a fight they saw the first time they put on gloves and threw a punch, or whatever it might be. Obviously, with you, I suppose it's even more interesting given the career that your dad had. Do you remember the very first, your very first memory of boxing?
Yeah, it's so I can remember being in the gym probably about 4 or 5 years old. I'll have been in there soon, and my nana always told me how I used to have my nappy changed on the ring apron. But I can remember being in the gym really young, watching my dad and Matthew train, and like messing about on the bags myself and stuff like that. So boxing's always, like, there isn't a time I can remember where boxing hasn't been part of my life.
With I think parents who compete, it can really go one or two ways with their kids. Whether they're like incredibly encouraging that you follow the same route they did. Some people think, well, I did that career so that my family don't have to. What was it like for you growing up? Did your dad sort of lean either way? Did he have to reluctantly accept you getting into boxing, or was he kind of thrilled?
He was a bit reluctant. He's always said he'd rather go into something else, as I think any parent would. Obviously a dangerous sport, and but like my whole family, I've never been pushed in any direction really. I think they've always just got behind whatever I've been doing. I tried a bit of everything as a kid. Never took anything else too seriously, but no matter what I was doing, I had the full backing of all my family, and boxing was no different. My mum took a bit of convincing to let me go down to the gym, but like I say, she's probably done more for me with my boxing than anyone. I had Lila very young. I was a dad at 17, and even through that, I never missed a training session, and that's all down to my mum. So I can't complain with how supportive my family have been. And I think even though my dad would have rather I'd gone into something else, I think it gives us something that we bond over and something we share. So I think even though there is the dangers of it, I think everyone is pleased, especially now they're seeing I'm having my success as well.
What about then if she wanted to watch box, or if even you have more kids and they want to box? How would you then feel about that?
Again, I wouldn't want Lila boxing. I've not got any worry that she will, though. She's far too soft. But again, it's like my cousin Jack, Matthew's son, he's started now, and I think it is just naturally in us. Like I said, I've tried every sport you can think of, like everyone does growing up, and I've had nothing grip me like boxing has. I was just drawn to it, and again, my family are in a good position to help us through it. So why not? You might as well. So again, if you're gonna do it anyway, regardless of whether your parents say yes or no, so might as well help them.
Yeah, you might have no choice. What about, so as you said, you've always been in boxing. You were drawn to it. It gripped you. Taking the actual, I suppose, competitive side out of it, when you're in the ring on these nights, actually a part of cards of this size in these arenas with the crowds. Obviously, Saturday will be one of, if not the biggest one. Do you like that side of it? As in, when you look at boxing, is it for you more the pure sports form, enjoying training and whatnot, or do you like the sort of occasion as well?
Yeah, both. I think I struggled early on in my career, where it turned, obviously there's a big spotlight on me and a lot of pressure, and I think it did take me, my first year as a pro, I didn't show 50% of what I was capable of even at that time. I've improved a lot since then, but I didn't even give a good account of where I was at the start, and I think that was down to the pressure. But I think the last, it's been like a career of two halves really, where recently really starting to show them improvements now, and the pressure doesn't come into my mind anymore. I think we handled it the right way, where I had the fight at Spurs where I did struggle a little bit, and it was clear the pressure was a bit too much for me, and we went away from the spotlight, had a few quieter shows, and I think I'm in a better place and better equipped to deal with it now, where at one time the big shows was affecting my performance and I'd be a bit over-eager, whereas now I thrive off it. And like when I find out I'm on a big show like this one, and if I've got a good slot on the bill, I buzz off it, and it drives me on. And like I say, the pressure don't come into my mind now.
Well, I think it's interesting as well because, and we see it with different athletes and even football teams, like sometimes with England, for example, okay, there is obviously a lot of pressure, but I feel like in your case, people really want you to do well. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they're watching you, it's hoping you get caught out. You know, obviously there are expectations, but they also are really, you know, hoping, you know, they want to see you do well. Does that help as well?
Yeah. So, there has been times where I have had to face criticism and little bits of stick, but I think now I've really settled down into my career. The response I get from people is massively positive, and it gives me a lot of confidence that, one, I'm getting better and proving any doubters wrong, and I'm seeing that people are on board now and are really supportive of me, and that pushes me on, because my whole reason for underperforming early on was probably because I was too eager to please the fans, and whereas now I've changed my mindset that I'm not focusing on that too much. Now that's pleasing them. So it's sort of had the opposite effect.
Right, and just last one from me. You know, you said that Spurs O2 this weekend. You're already on big cards in cool, you know, venues that a lot of people would love to be able to compete in. Is there one place you'd love to, you know, to fight in? Is there like a dream? You know, obviously everyone wants to be a world champion if you get into the sport and if you're on the trajectory you're on. But is there one place you'd like to fight before all's said and done?
My dream venue, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Etihad. Headlining there. It's like my dad did it and watched the Mighty Blues, Man City in the world domination, and I want to be part of it.
Fair enough. Campbell, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. We'll see everyone soon.